Hello everyone, and welcome to the next tanking video. So this time we're going to be covering the Tam-Tara Deepcroft, the second dungeon of the game. You'll unlock this early on in the main scenario quests. It's pretty much the second of three very easy interactive dungeons. Introductory. I forgot how to English there for a little bit. But yeah. There's really no new skills that we have new from the previous video, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. Right off the bat, we have this small cluster here, two little groups of two. Whoops, I'm already losing thread on this guy. Fix that. So normally in this dungeon, as long as your healer knows what they're doing, you can actually pull pretty big in this dungeon, but since I'm not extremely confident in my ability as a warrior, or I guess at this point we're still technically a marauder. You actually have to hit level 30 first before you're considered a warrior. And as you can see, I'm actually struggling here to keep aggro on these guys. So I'm just going to keep the smalls moderately sized to small, just because I'm not super confident. I am confident with Paladin. So I probably would pull a lot bigger on Paladin, but I'm not so confident on Marauder / Warrior, so I'm just going to take it a little bit easy. And like I said, this is an introductory dungeon, so even if you screw up, it's not that punishing. Your healer should have no troubles keeping you and your party alive. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull two groups again. This time we have 5 enemies. Nothing too bad. In fact, of the introductory dungeons, this is probably the easiest one. And it's the shortest one. Looks like, okay, the healer almost let us die there. I don't know what's going on, but hopefully we'll be fine. If the healer doesn't heal us, I mean, there's nothing we can do. And I definitely do not know this healer. This is just a pug. Just a random person we picked up in Duty Finder. But I'm going to go ahead and give a shout out to Rumor Tally. You've probably seen him in some of my previous videos. One that I can list off the top of my head would be my Samurai Etheric Chemical Research Facility video. I know for sure he was in that one. So he's joining me again today. It's always nice to have friends when you're doing dungeons and all kinds of stuff. Just adds that extra layer of fun to it, in my opinion. So we have another small pull here. I'm going to go ahead and grab this other guy in the hallway. Might as well. And then after this, we have the first boss. And at least the way I look at it, this dungeon technically has, I think it's 4 bosses. But I don't really consider it to be bosses because of the way it's set up. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Looks like our healer's doing a little too much damage and not focusing as much on healing. But we haven't died yet, so as long as we don't die, I don't really think there's much of an issue there. Anyways, moving right along. Now we're at the first boss. The way it starts out here, we've got these 3 just regular ads. They're pretty low health too, as you can see. Just a couple hits and they're already going down. So just tank these guys and they'll be dead in no time. And then after these guys die is when the actual boss fight starts. You've got this Void Soul counter. This guy definitely has a lot more health, but he doesn't have enough health to really be considered a boss in my opinion, but I don't know, I guess technically this is the boss. So yeah, this guy doesn't really have any major attacks. He's got like 1 AoE that he'll aim at the tank every once in a while, just like that. Condemnation. Very simple to dodge. No difficulty whatsoever here. I'm just sort of going forth between my heavy swing maim combo and my heavy swing skull thunder to make sure I keep aggro and also get that slashing debuff on him. So after you take down the boss, you just interact with that cultist orb, and as you can see there's a few cultist orbs pointing towards that big purple one in the sky there. That is basically the main mechanic of this dungeon. You take out the bosses, you sort of destroy those orbs. And then once all the tethers are gone, that big orb up there will go away. So I'm going to attempt to do this pull here without pulling any extra enemies. And already failed. That's not good. Okay, and knowing that our healer is not really on their game with the healing, this could be a struggle. Plus that beetle seemed to just run all the way up there and attack the healer. I'm not sure this is going to go well. I'm trying my best to select him, and I just can't. He's not even in my target list, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. There's nothing I really can do. And I'm dead. Yep, that's bad. I didn't really intend to pull that many enemies in the first place, but the healer could have been doing a better job keeping me alive, honestly. But I don't know. That was mostly my fault, I think, because I accidentally pulled too many enemies. It's never good to die as a tank, because you lose aggro on everything, so everything just goes crazy attacking your party. So like I said, like, I died, sure, but the rest of this pull, not a big deal, because, I mean, it's not very punishing. Even though I died, everyone else didn't. They did alright, so. Hopefully the healer will recognize going forward that I need to be healed a little more often than they were originally expecting. So since I died, all my TP was lost, and Warrior uses a lot of TP. So I'm just going to sort of wait here for a minute, let that regen up to a usable amount. Looks like we're probably good now. So yeah, that could have gone a lot better, but it is what it is. Nothing really I can do about it. And here we are again. You are not healing me very much. It's kind of disappointing, honestly. See, the healer's healing me now. I don't know. I guess he just heals when he wants to. He's not a bad healer. I'm not trying to say, oh, this guy's a bad healer. Come on, man, what's going on? That's not what I'm trying to say. I don't know. I feel like he should be healing me just a little bit more. But it's fine. No big deal, really. This is one of the introductory dungeons anyway. No one really takes them that seriously. A death is no big deal at all. So the unfortunate thing about Marauder compared to the other starting tanks is that it's really, really hard to keep aggro on this class. Because, well, on multiple targets. On a single target, it's not that hard, but when you're taking care of multiple targets, it's pretty hard to efficiently keep aggro as a Marauder. Because the only really good AoE ability you have to get threat is Overpower, and it uses a lot of TP, and if you just spam it over and over, you're going to run out of TP really quickly. Now, once you get to level 30, that all changes, because you get Warrior, of course, but not only do you get Warrior, you get this ability right here called Defiance, and that is our tank stance. And that makes tanking like 100 times easier. And of course, I'll go over that when we get to that stage. We're not quite there yet. Just pass on this stuff. But for now, we're just going to continue with this dungeon. So as you can see there, we actually killed another Soul Reaper, so we fought that same boss 2 times. Took out 2 orbs so far. And we're actually going to do that a 3rd time as well. There are 3 of them. And then after that, we actually attack the final boss. So that's really all this dungeon is. We just take out 3 of those Reaper guys, and then a bunch of trash pulls in between. Nothing major. Very, very simple. In fact, this dungeon in a lot of ways is actually easier than Sastasha. So take that with what you will. The next dungeon, though, Copperbell Mines, definitely is on a different caliber. It's not difficult at all. It's still very easy. But compared to the first 2 dungeons, there is a slight layer of complexity added to it. But it's still an introductory dungeon, like I was saying, so it's not hard. It's very simple, and if you have a death like we did in this run, it's not really going to penalize you very much. In fact, it might not penalize you at all. And you know, sometimes you might actually wipe. Like, it just depends on the group. if you have a whole bunch of new people with you, or if you're new yourself, you know, things could go south, and it just happens sometimes. It looks like in this dungeon we have at least one newbie. As you can see, he's like level 27. I don't know if he's just a newbie or if he got this in leveling roulette. You know, it could be anybody. You never really know if someone's a new player or not, just by their level and their appearance in a dungeon. You kind of have to know who they are outside of an instance to really know what they are, where they are, I mean. And those spiders just ran right past me for some reason. I have no idea why they did that. That's very frustrating. They have to run all the way back over here to get their aggro. Anyway. Trying to keep things together here. I'm struggling a little bit. Once we get to level 30 and I can actually start using the tank stance, I believe I'll start doing quite a bit better. My main issue with Marauder and Warrior is that at the early levels I am not that great at keeping aggro. But later on, once you have your tank stance, it gets significantly easier to keep aggro and to do damage. It seems kind of weird, right? You'd think that the higher level you get, the harder it would get, and to an extent it does. But it also does get easier, at least for tanks, once you get your tank stance at level 30. And that applies to all tanks. All the tanks in the game get their tank stance at level 30. And I believe they all get their DPS stance after that. And the DPS stance does change depending on your job, though. Like for Warrior, you get your DPS stance at level 52, so it's a bit further down the line. For Paladin, I think you get it at level 40? I could be wrong, but I think it's 40. And for Dark Knight, I believe it's either 40 or 35. Or actually, it might be 30. I really don't know. I'm not a Dark Knight main at all. I don't even play Dark Knight that much. I do have Dark Knight at level 70, which is the current max level, but I don't really play it enough to know how to play it, and I haven't played it in a long time. So I'm just a little loose on the memory when it comes to Dark Knight. Paladin is kind of the one tank that I actually know how to play pretty well, so I could probably make an accurate guide for Paladin, but this is a Warrior series, and I mentioned right at the beginning this is going to be more of a let's learn Warrior together than a here's how you play Warrior. Anyway, we're just taking out the last trash pull here. As you can see, there's a Cultist Rosary right there. All that's going to do is give us an item that we need to get rid of that barrier that's out front that we just ran by. We just ran past it to go into this room here. So I am using Anticipation there. I don't know if I explained Anticipation in my Sastasha video, but what that basically does is it means you can't be hit by critical hits. So normally if a hit is critical, it'll do more damage to you and it'll have like an exclamation point next to it. But while you're under the effects of Anticipation, it completely nullifies all critical hits. So if an NPC were to hit you with that critical hit, it would just be a normal hit if you have that active. It's pretty nice to use, especially if you're pulling huge groups of mobs at a time. So there we go. Now we're at the final little boss here, and this one's a little bit difficult to establish initial aggro because they all just sort of go after whoever attacks them first. So you've kind of got to just grab them however you can. Looks like I didn't do too bad of a job there. And then just take them out, and it's going to spawn that Soul Reaver just like the last two times. And that will be the final Soul Reaver of this dungeon. It's exactly the same as the others. No new mechanics. Or Soul Counter, rather. I apologize. I said Soul Reaver. Soul Reaver, Soul Counter, whatever. He's the boss. We've got to kill him. All he has is that same regular conal AoE that he'll aim at the tank. Well, I suppose I say he'll aim it at the tank. He'll actually aim it at whoever has aggro. So you definitely want to have aggro, of course. That's the main purpose of the tank, is to go in and take all the damage so that your party members can wreck stuff. If your party members are too busy being dead, they're not really doing their job very efficiently now, are they? So now you just take out the last two cultist orbs right there. And then that's going to assemble this bridge here and lead us to the actual final boss. Galvanth the Dominator. And this guy does have a couple mechanics. Pretty simple though. Come on, Alejandros. You can do it. Alright, so this boss, pretty simple, but he is a little bit harder than the Sastasha final boss. This guy actually does have mechanics we have to do. We can't skip these. So pretty quick, out the gate, he's going to go ahead and spawn, I said like a weird word there. He's going to spawn an inconspicuous imp. Now as the tank, you do not want to go after him. You just want to let your DPS and your healer take care of them. You're just going to sit here and even though you're not doing any damage, just spam your tank combo because you will continue gaining aggro if you do that, even if you're not doing damage. So that's all I did there. So once the imp is dead, his invulnerability will go away and you can start damaging him again. And now he's going to spawn an imp and adds. So as a tank, you're just going to want to go around and grab those adds. Nothing special. You do not have to grab the imp, just grab the other adds. And go ahead and start killing those adds. So they took down the imp, so now the boss is vulnerable again. But you want to go ahead and take out the adds, of course. Alright, adds are dead, back to the boss. He's got this attack. Looks like you can't dodge it. I thought, or stun it. I thought you could, but you can't. So just dodge that. And go back at it. And here in a second, he's going to spawn one more wave of imps. Here he is. So he's going to spawn 2 imps this time. And he's going to spawn even more adds than the last phase. So just do the same thing. Grab all the adds. Let your party members take care of the imps. Get to work here killing the adds. So once the imps are dead, you can actually ignore the adds if you want. Just kill the boss. But the adds are easy enough to take out. You might as well just go ahead and do it. So they don't do too much damage to you. Alright, and then after this, you just focus down the boss. And that's all she wrote. So overall, this dungeon is pretty simple. The main difficulty that we're going to have at these earlier levels as a marauder / warrior is keeping aggro. At least for me, that's the struggle that I have for the most part at these lower levels. At the higher levels, once you hit level 30 especially, it will become much easier. Plus, when you get this ability here called Steel Cyclone, that makes it way easier to keep aggro. But we'll cover that, of course, as we get to it. We're still a pretty long ways off from getting Steel Cyclone. I believe that's like a level 40 skill. It's up there. There's going to be like a handful of dungeons first before we get to that ability. But with that, that concludes the Tam-Tara Deepcroft. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time for Copperbell Mines. Take care.